Yeah, hello, dear friends and interested colleagues. My name is Heun. I'm a consultant psychiatrist, professor of psychiatry and old age psychiatry, and I want to continue our series Mental Health Explained. At the moment, I'm focusing on bipolar disorder. We recently published a paper on YouTube on mania, which I can recommend. Today we talk about hypomania. So there are a couple of differences between mania and hypomania. Usually it's a number of symptoms. In hypomania, one would assume that there are only 3 of the symptoms I'm repeating or coming to in a bit. The symptoms are less severe. They don't lead to social problems. Usually work can be continued at some level, but in mania there is no way people can really work, and they're very often hospitalized. In hypomania there is also a shorter requirement of symptoms. The usual requirement in different criteria or sets of criteria for mania is a week, and for hypomania it's 3 or more days. Sometimes it can be repeat itself, and then we have recurrent mania. However, in total, it's shorter, less severe, and has less symptoms. So the symptoms are more or less the same as in mania. It's elevated and irritable mood. People can be expansive. They can have increased energy and activity. There can be a marked feeling of well-being and increased feeling of efficiency, being physically fitter, have increased self-esteem, being very talkative and sociable, and being very familiar with others, including strangers. There might be an increase of sex drive and reduced need for sleep. And there's some difficulty in focusing on one task, which there is an overlap with ADHD if that happens. But usually it's during these episodes only, which is a differential diagnosis to ADHD, where this is more or less permanent. Some people have this in mixture with depression. Sometimes people can be agitated in depression, and that can be mistaken as mania. Anxiety disorders can be prevalent. People with bipolar disorder might be very anxious. Other disorders which involve the sleep might be a problem to distinguish, but usually it's relatively clear because people have more than one episode. One of the problems is very often that people who have elevated mood and feel very well are prone to take drugs, and very often this drug taking can also be a symptom or a cause of elevated mood, especially if you take something like cocaine. But so you have to have a very good history to find out whether the mania is the primary cause of taking drugs, or the drug abuse is the cause of the mental health problem. What you have to do is to find out what are the other possibilities. I mentioned that. Then have a look at the stressors. Sometimes sleep deprivation itself can lead to mania. I must admit, when I was a young doctor, we weren't allowed to sleep overnight, and in the morning you had this slightly elated and inappropriate mood. Doesn't happen to everybody, but I must admit it happened to me. And when we had the ward round, I couldn't take it serious. And but so that might happen. So these Monday mornings I won't forget. So anyway, and I feel sorry for my late professor Shimrek, who had to suffer our inappropriate mood sometimes, and that we didn't take things too serious. Anyway, so sleep disturbance can cause mood problems, but also on the other hand, they can be the cause or consequence. Right, agitation can be a problem, and then it might be necessary to help with sleep and agitation with medication. Benzodiazepines might be an option, even though they might also be a trigger. And if it's prolonged, you have to go to the consultant and find a medication. There's prophylactic medication, or some people have their medication at home in case they find early enough that they develop bipolar episode or manic episode. I would like to say thank you for your attention, and don't take this confession to the world. But I would say, if you want more information about bipolar disorder, just continue listening to us, subscribe to our channel, YouTube Global Psychiatry Archives, and enjoy the day. Thanks for listening.